In October 2024, 2311 Racing, co-owned by Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, and Front Row Motorsports filed an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR and its chairman, Jim France. The lawsuit challenges NASCAR's business practices, particularly regarding the charter system that governs team participation in races. While this may seem like a hit on NASCAR, the multi-billion-dollar industry is preparing for its own revenge strategy. NASCAR was brought to the world by Bill France Sr. during the 1940s. Since then, the sport has faced its share of controversies, with drivers threatening to walk. Bill France has always had answers for such things, and now it looks as though Bill France Jr. is going to reply in a similar manner. Back in 1961, there was one driver, Curtis Turner, and his business partner, Bruton Smith. Turner tried to form a union with Smith. They sought help from the Teamsters Union to form the Federation of Professional Athletes, or FPA. However, Bill France Sr. was not happy with this at all. Given that NASCAR has always been a private company, they can operate as they wish, and Bill France made it clear that any union-affiliated driver would not be a part of the NASCAR grid. The rest of the drivers quickly fell into line in fear of not being able to race in NASCAR. A similar thing happened in 1969 when Richard Petty and a few other drivers decided to boycott a race. France Sr. just got other drivers to fill the empty seats and continued on with the race. Bill France Jr. could be looking to do the same thing here as well. With 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports having filed a case, France Jr. could ban them from the 2025 grid as they have not signed the charter agreement yet. This could scare the rest of the teams off joining the lawsuit, and could even cause 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports to drop their lawsuit. But NASCAR will want to settle this case outside the courtrooms. Given that NASCAR is a private organization, they've kept all their finances private. But if this case goes to court, it is likely that NASCAR will become an open book. This is something that France Jr. will not want, as they won't want the public to know how much revenue NASCAR actually generates. Ever since the start of the negotiations, Denny Hamlin has been vocal about what he and the other teams are looking for in a new contract. They wanted the teams to earn more money and have more control in the sporting rules and regulations. However, NASCAR has said that they will not do so. Front Row Motorsport and 2311 included a list of what they called anti-competitive practices from NASCAR leadership. Buying a majority of the premier racetracks that are exclusive to NASCAR races, imposing exclusivity deals on NASCAR-sanctioned racetracks, acquiring Automobile Racing Club of America, or ARCA, the only notable stock car racing series competitor, preventing teams from participating in any other stock car races while also retaining ownership over next-gen parts and cars, forcing teams to buy their parts from single-source suppliers chosen by NASCAR. Given that NASCAR is a private organization, they've been operating and have been forcing the other teams to adhere to their rules. Out of the 13 teams that signed the new charter agreement, most of the team representatives commented that they felt coerced to do so and felt like they had no other choice. But 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports stood their ground. 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports have hired Jeffrey Kessler to represent the teams. He'll be taking on NASCAR in this lawsuit. Here's what he had to say about the lawsuit. There is no other major sport where one family has run that sport as its own personal fee stub and piggy bank, the way that NASCAR has been run, Kessler said. We will see what impact that has in terms of how they try to defend themselves. We will see what impact that has in terms of whether it's possible to settle this case, or whether we have to take it all the way through trial. Either way, we are prepared to do what's necessary to effectuate change. Given that this will be an antitrust lawsuit, NASCAR stands to lose a lot from it. An antitrust lawsuit can have significant negative implications for NASCAR, affecting its business model, competitive landscape, and overall operations. Antitrust laws are designed to prevent monopolistic practices, promote fair competition, and protect consumers. If NASCAR were to face an antitrust lawsuit, several consequences could arise that might hurt the organization and its ecosystem. An antitrust lawsuit could lead to hefty legal fees, fines, and settlements. For a large organization like NASCAR, even if they have significant financial resources, these costs could divert funds away from critical areas like driver development, race promotions, or track improvements. Furthermore, if the lawsuit leads to punitive damages or mandatory restructuring, it could weaken the company's financial health over time. NASCAR operates as a tightly controlled governing body with exclusive rights to sanction events, control media deals, and establish rules for teams and tracks. An antitrust lawsuit could challenge this centralized control, accusing NASCAR of monopolistic practices that hinder competition within motorsports. This could lead to demands for restructuring how NASCAR operates, potentially opening the door for rival organizations to host races or share broadcasting rights. If NASCAR were forced to relinquish some of its control, it could hurt the consistency and appeal of the sport, which relies on a unified product offering. NASCAR's ability to control schedules, venues, and media contracts in a cohesive way helps maintain its identity and brand power. An antitrust lawsuit might force NASCAR to make concessions that benefit smaller, less established competitors. If NASCAR is found guilty of limiting competition through exclusivity contracts or other restricted practices, they may be compelled to allow other race sanctioning bodies to compete in ways that could dilute NASCAR's influence. This could lead to a fragmented motorsport market where NASCAR has less control, affecting everything from sponsorship deals to viewership numbers. Any major lawsuit, especially one tied to antitrust accusations, can damage NASCAR's reputation. A prolonged legal battle might make the organization seem predatory or unfair in its business practices, alienating fans, sponsors, and business partners. NASCAR has worked hard to build a loyal fan base and a trusted brand over the years, and an antitrust lawsuit could put that trust in jeopardy, especially if negative headlines dominate the news cycle. NASCAR teams and drivers are heavily reliant on the current system for their livelihoods. If an antitrust lawsuit results in significant changes to the structure of the sport, such as restructuring of race payouts, media revenue sharing, or sponsorship deals, it could disrupt the financial ecosystem teams depend on. Smaller teams might struggle to survive, while larger teams could face limitations on how they operate or engage with sponsors. An antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR would not only pose financial and operational risks, but could also weaken the entire structure of the sport. The centralized model that has helped NASCAR maintain its identity and market power could be fractured, leading to long-term challenges for both the organization and the broader motorsports industry. To be clear, both 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsport want to remain in NASCAR for the future. They're not looking for a settlement that will make them drop the case. They want NASCAR to renegotiate the charter agreement, so the teams are fairly compensated for their contribution to make NASCAR successful. In order for this to happen, the teams believe that NASCAR cannot be a dictatorship, where all the power lies with the France family. Instead, it should be a partnership with NASCAR's ownership, leadership, and the teams. This is exactly what 23XI Racing's co-owner, Curtis Polk, said about the lawsuit. A true partnership, not dictatorship, is our goal. For over 2 years, I have dedicated myself to championing a more fair and transparent system within NASCAR, where we recognize the importance of the France family and the sanctioning body, but do what is best for all stakeholders. The charter that was forced on the teams with only hours' notice does not accomplish these objectives. The new charter is an attempt to further marginalize the teams' voices in the sport and consolidate control and the power in the hands of the France family for their sole benefit. I hope our actions today lead to a future of collaboration for this great sport we love. 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsport just want a deal where everyone wins, and that is something NASCAR is not willing to give. According to Polk, the teams receive a total of only 13% of the revenue generated. Given that the drivers average around $3 million in salaries, all the drivers put together earn about $100 million. This is far less compared to the $3 billion NASCAR earns in revenue every year. So NASCAR has two options to make this go away. One is to make adjustments to the charter agreement to include the team's demands. This will mean that NASCAR will have to give up a large share of the revenue to the teams. The other option is for NASCAR to start making threats to 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports. This way, NASCAR will scare off other teams joining the lawsuit, and may also scare the two teams who have already filed the lawsuit into dropping it. What do you think NASCAR should do? Post your thoughts in the comment section below.